morning we had a chance to go back and clean up the mistakes that we made last Sunday against the Giants, and then segue right into our preparation for the Bucks. So it's been a productive morning. We'll be out here in a little while practicing, and I'm sure you've got some questions.
How much different can you be, or do you have to be with Nick playing quarterback as far as getting your running game going and how defenses now will approach you, not having to worry about Michael Vick on the perimeter?
I think that's a better question for the defenses that play us. We're going to function the same way, regardless of who's playing quarterback. You know, for internal uses, we know some of the things that we'll focus on more with Nick in there than Mike, but the offense will be different.
I guess I should have asked you, there was a noticeable drop-off in Shady's yard, and your whole running game yard carry when Nick came in and when Mike came out. So do you correlate that?
No, I don't think so. I think when Nick was in there playing in the preseason, we were very effective running the football, and you know, we did what we had to do to win the game. We were fortunate when Nick was in there. We got some turnovers, you know, and then we attacked him in sudden change where we got some points where we threw the ball a little bit. But the way we're going to approach game planning doesn't change. It's just really our opponent changes. You know, we're going to play one of the top defenses in the league. They're different in style than the Giants. The Giants are probably bigger, more physical inside. This is a fast defense that runs around, so it's going to be important for us to be able to block movement. And then, just like every week, we've got to do a good job of beating man-to-man coverage outside.
You mentioned some of the mistakes that you wanted to clean up. What were some of the most glaring ones you saw?
Well, I thought, for the most part, you know, every game there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, I thought the good is we didn't turn the ball over. You heard Coach Kelly talk about what you do with turnovers, and we got 17 points off of turnovers. The biggest thing for me is, you know, I want us to be really tough to beat, and when we have pre-snap penalties, and then, you know, we drop some balls, you know, those are correctable errors, you know, and so those were probably the things that we focused on the most. And then, of course, you know, I think we need to be still more effective in the red area. You know, I think early in the game we got down there, we got a 3rd and 1, we didn't get it, so we kicked the field goal, and then one other field goal was a 2-minute drive where we got it down there when the time ran out, we didn't have a chance. But there still were some bad plays in the red area that we've got to try to clean up so that we can stretch the score out if it presents itself earlier in the game.
Mike is 5 for 19 in the red zone, and Nick's been a little more accurate, a little more productive. It's limited numbers, obviously. Do you think anything up and influence on why that might be?
No, I think, again, when you look at it, there's not quite large enough sample size to see any trends. I just think it's a mixture of things. We got to do a better job of throwing and catching, you know, and then of course, in critical areas in the field, we got to do a better job of that.
From what you've seen, how's Nick's team?
Yeah, Nick throws a good deep ball. I mean, Nick can do all the things, throwing from the pocket that you need to do. And, you know, he's been in the game the last 2 weeks and has been basically very effective.
How big a part has the zone read been with Mike Vick at the helm, and does that part have to at least change a little bit with Nick at quarterback?
As I mentioned earlier, we won't change how we function, running or throwing. We'll just choose to do more or less than we're doing.
Nick threw up at the red zone touchdown on Sunday. Throughout his career, he's never been a particularly great red zone threat. I think that was only his 7th red zone touchdown in his career. Is a smaller guy at a disadvantage inside the 20?
I don't think so. I think that, as I mentioned last week, I really do believe that Deshaun can be effective all the way up and down the field. A lot of Deshaun's touchdowns come from out because he's fast. You know, he finds a way to get open. But when you don't have great size, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is the red zone is a big target you throw a fade to. There's a whole lot of other concepts that are utilized in the red zone, and I think he can be effective just as long as you get him.
Nick threw a pass. Nick threw a couple passes where maybe the guys weren't necessarily open, like when he threw it, sort of like when he located the one-on-one and gave his guys a chance to go get it. With the way the rules are constructed, is that something you sort of need to push to your quarterbacks now that even if the guy's not necessarily open, if it's one-on-one, that that's the matchup you want to go to?
Yeah, I think we all know what NFL open means. You know, there are times when a receiver is running down the field with a defender behind him and not looking for the football. That's typically open in our minds. So we understand that. I think it's important that all quarterbacks are able to throw the ball with anticipation. I wouldn't say that Nick does it any better than Mike. You know, we just saw a couple of examples. The throw to Brent Self. He ran a very good route. The guy was in good coverage. We thought we could fool him with the concept. And then Nick made a great throw and made a great catch.
Sales
That's
reps
one that
that-
comes to mind. I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah,
Sales
The
reps with
size
the
that Nick
offense.
has, the size he has, can that help in the red zone? When you get in there and you got all those bodies everywhere.
I don't know. I think a guy that's taller sometimes from the pocket can see a little bit better. But that's not to say that guys that are a little bit shorter don't find a way to execute just as well. But it can't help in some ways.
Pat, Bales reps with Harley was targeted ones. Was that, did you guys find him getting open? Or was that just some potential fact he didn't see many balls from his way?
I think targets and catches come in bunches. And I think he was doing a good job trying to get open. We just didn't do it.
Bales reps with the offense have increased. Sure. What have you seen from him? Why is he getting more?
Well, I think he's more and more familiar with what we're doing, which makes him be able to go in there and execute faster, which he's done. And I think he's getting a couple more reps each week. We'll continue to use him just like we were with Damaris. He had a couple of reps, and we'll keep amping up his as well.
Pat, it looks like Jason Kelsey had some trouble against bigger guys than the Giants had on their front line, just blocking him. Is that going to be, is that an issue for him going forward when he goes up against those bigger 310, 320-pound guys?
I don't think it's a trend. I think the Giants were big inside. Sean Rogers is blocking his whole head. He's a big man. And most people that block him, he can play at a very high level, and most people struggle to get movement on him. So we don't see it as a trend. But they're very stout inside, and that showed up.
In those situations where you're right, the outside wides are like are you looking to utilize your tight end for the seams and all that?
Yeah, most of our route concepts involve 3 and 4 guys, and then you got to beat them down the field, you got to beat them across the field, and then every once in a while we try to bunch them up and move them around. And so we try to use them. Brent had some good production the other night. Again, it comes in bunches because there are concepts where they're all involved and one of them will pop free. And the quarterback's just got to do a good job of going through the position.
Pat, when you look at the Bucks,
versus blocking coming along, that aspect is that something? Yes.
No, he's doing a good job. And the way we block the perimeter with our tight ends, he's got all the skill and ability to get done what we want him to do. He's getting better each week.
Pat, when you look at the Bucks on tape, does Revis look all the way back from his injury?
Well,
Is he
Revis
dangerous
is playing
enough?
at a high level, and that reputation he has of being a shutdown corner. You see that on tape now. So I don't know if he's all the way back, but he's playing at a very high level. And they're going to be a challenge. We went through yesterday and watched last year's game as a staff with Nick playing, as you remember, where we won the game on the last play of the game. And it was one of those gritty, hard-fought games. And now they have the same style of defense, but then they've added some dynamic players. And they've got good players at every level, not just Revis. Boy's a real good player. Monty David, at the linebacking level, is really good. And then their safeties, I think. That pair of safeties is as good as we've seen.
Do you remember scouting Mike Lennon in the offseason?
I remember very well. We liked him quite a bit. And he's one of those rookie quarterbacks that's probably going through what all rookies. I've had a chance to be around a few of them. But he's a guy that he's going to be able to win games in this league. I'm sure he's learning a lot every time he steps on the field. But he's a good player.
In that Bucks game last year, what stood out to you about him?
I thought he battled all the way through it, and I thought it was was a gritty performance, and we all know how difficult it is to win in this league. You know, we talk about it every week, and it's difficult to go win on the road against a very, what I would consider, active and physical defense. And, you know, he led the Eagles to victory last year, and there were a lot of players that weren't in there. You know, at that time, the Eagles were dealing with a lot of injuries, so there were a lot of so-called role players in there playing a lot, and he led the team to victory. That's really what you rate your quarterback.
And so what's the reason you guys watch that film? Was it get better since Vick, or was it better since
Just a combination. You know, it's the same style of defense. And typically you watch, even though our scheme is different, there are a lot of plays that are similar. You know, I've said it all along, there's 4 verticals and curl flat in every offense. You know, and so we were able to see really Nick against the Tampa Bay Bucks in the way that they function defensively.
If you have a guy like Rivas who's a shutdown corner and stuff, are there like different things you can do to try to like, you know, maybe, you know, use other? I mean, do you have to kind of use other guys more?
We're going to go through our progressions, and we're going to play the game. And there'll be times when we're going his way, and there'll be times when we're not. You know, that's just the way it works. And, we'll see how it plays out.
As a coach or a coordinator, Pat, has there ever been a guy you played against where you told the quarterback, don't throw it outside?
Well, you know, there's some fine corners in this league. I can remember being here. There was a guy named Deion Sanders playing, and he played on a couple of different teams that we played against where he was out of sight to it. I mean, he would bank guys to throw to him, and then he would make plays that were ridiculous. That's the one I remember. But there is you know, we have a great respect for all the players we play against. And there are some guys that, you know, they've earned their reputation as really good players. But we like the guys we have, and we're going to go out and challenge. Second.